Hello and welcome to another Betfred Sports video right here in the Quest Media Network studio. Peter, the big one took place on Saturday, the Super League Grand Final, St Helens 12, Catalans Dragons 10, and that result now means that Saints have won a hat-trick of Grand Finals, taking them level with Leeds Rhinos. It was a fantastic occasion, you were there, just detail the emotions for us.
Well, it was a fantastic occasion, a game for the purists really. It was a real arm wrestle early on. And I thought that Saints just had that edge of professionalism. Catalans started making errors late on. I mean, Sam Tompkins, if he plays like that with one leg, just like what he was like with two legs. Yeah. I mean, he was sensational. He was. I thought he could have been the man of the match, but he didn't go his way. They often give it to the team that wins anyway. It's a vote by the journalists. But it was a fantastic occasion. It was 45,000 there. Maybe we could have had a few more, but that's because they were playing Catalans and the travel restrictions and the expense of coming over to Old Trafford at relatively short notice as well. But it was fantastic. Catalans took the lead early in the second half, and I thought it was going to be Catalans' day. All the pundits, including Paul Sculthorpe, who was on the radio here, and others, have all been saying that they thought it would be a 10-12 points victory for St Helens, but it wasn't. It was a lot closer than anybody imagined. If it wasn't for those errors late on, I think we could have been sat here talking about a French victory. It was that close. But as I say, the professionalism, the pure quality of that St Helens team just rode them through, and then it was the victory that means that they're now 3 grand final triumphs on the bounce, and people are now saying that that's the best St Helens team ever in the history of the club, and that's saying something because we've had some cracking teams over the years. Yeah,
certainly is, and I know you've got the odds for next season already. We'll touch up on that a little bit later on, but you mentioned about the man of the match. It was Kevin Naikwama of St Helens. Unfortunately, he's going back to Australia. Tell us a bit about his importance for the Saints this season.
Well, he's such a dominant centre, and he bossed that game, and he's got speed and the bulk, as a lot of rugby league players have. And he went over twice to become the hero of the day. He is going back to Australia. He's had talks with his wife, and he's 32 years of age, so in rugby league terms, that's close to retirement.
Yeah.
So, but there is a lot of speculation on the back of that performance whether he'll be offered a deal to play professional rugby in Australia again. Nothing to do with how he was treated at St Helens. He's full of praise for how it's gone in his various seasons there. But he is going back down under. Lachlan Coote, he was another hero from Saturday night. The fullback for St Helens didn't put a foot wrong. He's also moving on, but he's going to Hull KR, where he's got a 2-year deal, where St Helens only offering him a 1-year contract. So he's moving as well. So there's 2 of the top players who are moving from St Helens, but no doubt they'll be recruiting. And they've got a young player called Jack Wellesby, who is emerging now as a potential superstar of the future. And they made space for him in the St Helens team now. He's becoming quite a cult hero amongst the fans, with him being local to the team.
Well, Kevin will certainly be a miss for Saints next season. And just speaking of the Saints, they're going to be joined in the Super League next season by Toulouse Olympique, because they beat Featherstone Rovers on Sunday afternoon in the Betfred Championship. Peter, that now means there are going to be 2 French sides in the Super League. Do you think that's a good thing for the sport?
Well, I've said before that it does need to expand away from the M62 corridor. I personally think it'd be better if it could expand throughout the UK, and we'd have a decent team from Newcastle and London, and maybe the South Coast. In the South, rugby union still dominates affairs, but if they're not going to expand that way, then why not to France? It's not a million miles away, and there is certainly a hotbed of interest in that part of France. It should be an interesting year, to put it mildly, with 2 French teams in. I mean, I've got the odds here for next season. Toulouse at 100 to 1, the complete outsiders to win the grand final next year. But St Helens are not odds on, 5 to 2 to do it 4 times on the bounce. Warrington have been cut, and there's a lot of money going on Warrington. they're 4-1 now to win the grand final next year. Catalans, defeated on Saturday, of course, they're 5-1 to win the grand final, go one better. Wigan 6-1, great changes there in the management structure. And Leeds are 9-1. They're the highlights of the betting for next season's grand final.
Excellent stuff. Now, just to cap off our rugby league review, the Catalans owner came out following the game and said he will never allow his side to play in a Super League grand final until there's going to be 3 Australian referees. Peter, does that just sound great from him, do you think?
Well, yeah, basically.
Yeah.
He was. You can't criticise the referees in that. They were absolutely spot on, and he has got praise in the trade press for how he handled that game. There was some controversy, but it went both ways, and it must be a nightmare trying to referee those games. I mean, there's a fight going on about 100 yards away, and he's trying to keep the play flowing, and then he's got to keep an eye on that as well. He's got 2 liners who are supposed to be keeping up with play, and they're looking back as well. It was a really tough game to manage, but I thought the ref did great. Yeah,
certainly not a job that I'd want. Now, I'm going to move into some football news because obviously it was the World Cup qualifiers at the weekend. England made the trip to Andorra. They cruised to victory, 5-0 win, comfortable in the end, but expected.
Well, certainly expected. I mean, it was a reserve team they put out, and they still won 5-0. Thought Phil Foden did tremendously well. Big debate now about where his best position is. I've just basically go with him in the central midfield slots, and I've done with it because he's clearly the best in that role. He's in top form at the moment as well, unlike some of his rivals for those positions. And I hope he does play against Hungary tomorrow night.
Yeah, well, as Pete said then, England are back on home soil at Wembley. They're taking on Hungary. What are you guys looking like for this one?
Well, England 1-6. They did beat Hungary away 4-0. 4-0 scoreline bet. Repeat performance at Wembley is 8-1. Hungary 20-1 to pull off a shock result, and it would be a shock as well. England 1-6 to win. Harry Kane 2-1. He's likely to be back in the team. Foden 5-1. These are to score first. Grealish 13-2. Tammy Abraham 11-4, Sterling 7-2, Lingard. Now that's an interesting one because he's doing better for England than he'd ever do for if he got a chance, mind you, at Manchester United. He's 11-2 to score first. Sancho also similar situation as Lingard actually, not naturally a big starter at United, but anyway he's 11-2 to score first for his country. 5-0 is popular. That's 16-1. Which was the same result in Andorra, so they just do the same again.
Brilliant stuff. Now, Scotland, what an evening it was on Saturday for the Scottish team, because that last minute, 94th minute win it from Scott McTominay, proving to be the hero. You know, you're looking at that victory and it's huge, isn't it?
Well, it is, and with that support that Scotland have got, they kind of deserve the chance to get back in the World Cup. There's a lot of speculation about whether they should increase the number of teams in the World Cup. But that would limit which countries could host it. So I think they should leave it well alone and just get the best teams in, the best 24, and hopefully Scotland will be there this year, because it certainly add to it that we have more than one home nation, because England are virtually in. I mean, I've got the odds now to win the World Cup. France, naturally enough, favourites after the Nations League victory as well. They're 11-2. Well, same as Brazil, they're 11-2. England are next in at 7-1. Spain 9-1. Italy, Belgium, Germany all 10-1 shots. Argentina, that's not a bad shout, 12-1. Maybe they'll do better in Qatar with the heat. Netherlands 16-1, same as Portugal.
Brilliant stuff. Well, that goal for Scott McTominay will do him the world of good at Old Trafford. Now, Peter, we always talk about big winners at Betfred on Sports Talk. You've had one person this week from Wales put a £3 bet on, and he's returned £13,300. I wish I was him.
Well, I mean, this is quite an incredible bet. We have people who get like 6 or 7 or even 10 matches correct, but this guy's got 26 games correct. And they're all over the world, World Cup qualifiers. They're also in the National League. He got Altrincham correct, for instance, from this neck of the woods. But also he had teams in Scotland as well. he had a lot of favourites, as you'd imagine. He had Denmark to beat Moldova, for instance, Poland to win against San Marino. But 26 results, he takes some going. I haven't spoke to him yet, but I hope to later today. He's from Wales, he's bet £3 and he's won, as you say, 13,300.
Congratulations to him. I think I'll be lucky to get 2 predictions right. Well, our local sides were also in action at the weekend, so let's just do a quick review. So, in the National League North, it ended Farsley Celtic 2, Curzon Ashton 0. In the MPO Premier Division, it was Gainsborough Trinity 1, Ashton United 1, Hyde United 0, Lancaster City 1, Lancaster scoring in the 87th minute. It was Warrington Town 3, Stalybridge Celtic 0. Stalybridge Celtic have been on a great run of form at the moment, but brought back down to earth at Cantilever Park. And in the FA Trophy second qualifying round, it ended Mosley 3, Ossett United 1, the Lily Whites progressing to the next round. Well, it's been great speaking to you, Peter, and if you have been watching this video and you do fancy a punt on any of the upcoming fixtures, Betfred stores are now open, but you can also bet online and via their app.